Mets and cue the W. How's it going, everybody? Thank you guys all so much for chiming in for the latest post-game show here on WardyNYM. We're going tomato face tonight. The Mets win the damn ball game 2-1. DeGrom-ination. Nasty Adam Ottavino. I realize I messed up the graphic. You should have 2 strikeouts, not 1. I'm always messing up things because I am a schmuck. Get your shirts down below at shop.Bleav.com for the Bleav in Queens podcast. But guys, more than anything, before we go over this game, let's get those damn W's in the chat. Let's get them in the chat right now. What a big win. Oh my goodness, Brandon Nimmo. We were all Jacob DeGrom. He brought the catch of the year in center. What are you doing to the former Met and Justin Turner, who broke up Jake's no-no? He says, not today, Brandon. That is him. He catches that ball. What a catch. What a game. Let's get those dubs in the chat right now. I want to see him, everybody. Let's get him in the chat. Big game. Big win. Mets tied the series. They look for the series dub tomorrow with Chris Bassett against Clayton Kershaw. How we feeling, Mets fans? What a game. What a crazy game. The second fastest game of the year, I believe, for the Mets as well. Big game. Obnoxious, J-Ro. Here's the thing, J-Ro. I don't give a rat's ass if you find it obnoxious. I'm sorry. If you do, then go watch something else. This ain't the place to be. I'm juiced up. I'm being genuine. I was on my feet like all Mets fans in Citi Field looking at Timmy Trumpet, looking at Edwin Diaz come out and take down Trey, take down Freddie, and take down Will Smith with ease, with absolute ease. The pitching gets the job done. You get the catch of the year from Brandon Nimmo. We're feeling electric. We got a lot of deep dive from this game. Only 2 hours and 19 minutes. I knew it would be a pitcher's duel, but the Mets reign supreme, folks. They win this ball game, and we have, as always, a good amount of things to say here in the chat from what was broken down on this one. So much happened. What a crazy game. I got it, guys. I gotta enjoy this for a sec. I gotta enjoy it. I really do, especially after yesterday, which was a tough loss of one-run ball game. Today, it's a one-run ball game as well. Jacob DeGrom continues to prove why he is the best pitcher in baseball, folks. Nasty Jake with 9 Ks. Only gives up that bomb to Mookie, who's hit 5 home runs in his past 5 games. It makes sense. But the Mets get the job done, folks. The pitching steps up. The offense wasn't great, but it was enough for this Mets team in a one-run ball game once again. Even Pete Alonso hit a high fastball for opposite field single. Things actually were going the Mets' way a bit tonight, guys. Let's break it down. We do have some unfortunate news on the injury front of Brett Brady that I'll be discussing later in the show. But for right now, I got to know, everybody, get wrecked, you schmucks. Absolutely, Chris. Love that in the chat, guys. Everybody in the chat, how you feeling after this big Mets dub? Again, this was a playoff atmosphere in Citi Field. You got the 7 line out there that you see in center. Oh, an electric win. An electric win. We're going to be riding high on this one, and hopefully the Mets give us another big game tomorrow. Hopefully they can get the job done. This was a great win for the New York Mets. They needed a win like this, and they needed, hopefully, a momentum swing. And to do this over the Dodgers, and this is why I told Dodgers fans that were chiming in the chat yesterday, look, talk your shit a little bit. You won last night. Congratulations. You want a cookie? I knew what Jake was going to do today. Was awfully confident. I was confident that the Mets, as long as they had the pitching right, would make this a ball game, hopefully in their favor, and that held true. Tyler Anderson still pitched a really good ball game, but Jacob DeGrom was just better. Adam Ottavino making that frisbee slider, had Mookie Betts swinging for days, baby, to strike him out to end the 8th. And then when Timmy Trumpets comes out, we all cueing the trumpets at home, or if you're in attendance at Citi Field. Edwin Diaz, 1, 2, 3, how you doing? The story of the Dodgers tonight offensively, the Mets get the job done, guys. So let's break down this game. We got a lot to talk about. Before I do, I want to thank everyone so much for chiming in for the latest post-game show here at WardyNYM, guys. Like I said, we have a lot that we got to get into from this ball game, and I want to rant. We may even have my buddy Joe Serralo from the Bleav in Queens podcast should be coming in, too, a little bit later in the show. Okay, yeah, he's going to come in like 20 minutes or so. All right, guys, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, everybody, and then we're going to get into deep diving this entire ball game. But before I do, everybody, I got to know, out of all the crazy catches that we have seen in Mets history, where would you rank that one? It's fitting that we got the GOAT, Endy Chavez, behind me. Signed photo by Endy. Shout out to my good friend on the channel, Dave, that sent that my way. But yes, I want to know, guys, what is your takeaway that we saw from this big one tonight, and Brandon Nimmo with the absolute home run robin bomb. Where does that rank on your Mets catches of all time list? I definitely want to hear it, guys. Let me hear it in the chat right now. As you do that, I'm going to do something real quick, and then we'll go forward here in the show. Apologies in advance if I do lag here for a second, but like I said, it will not be long. Just need a minute because I have to send my buddy Joe the link. We're going to get him in the show in, 20, 25 minutes or so. Man, I'm pumped. I'm absolutely juiced up right now. How can you not be? How can you not be after a massive win like this? Again, it wasn't the prettiest one from an offensive standpoint, but the same thing goes for the Dodgers. A second straight game for the LA Dodgers where they're not playing their best baseball, and by no means were the Mets playing their best baseball, but again, they did what they needed to do to win this ball game. And Sandy, thank you so much for the $10 donation. And Sandy says, and thank you so much, Darwin here. Happy birthday again. Oh, thank you so much, and Sandy. I appreciate that. Hyping the chat to Insanity with the dono and the kind words. Year of consistent, amazing content. You're the best, fight. Thank you so much. This game was insanity. LFGM playoffs, baby. Yes, playoffs will be around the corner, and playoffs will be when we see our man and Brett Beatty back in the Mets uniform because he's out with injury. But as I said, I will discuss it later in the show. We got to deep dive this Mets game first. I see my man Tyler in the chat. Tyler, you know who you are. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for chiming in. Let's break down this game, and thank you guys for the belated birthdays. I appreciate that as well. My birthday was yesterday. Mets couldn't win it for me today, but that's okay because they set it up for a perfect day. My first official day as a 22-year-old outside of yesterday, right? So we're feeling live. We're feeling electric. Let's break down this game, guys, because a lot happened. It was a quick one. It was a goodie, though. And Jacob deGrom continues to be a masterclass of a pitcher, pure deGromination. And the Mets 2-1 win in Game 2 of 3 against the LA Dodgers. Let's get into it. Trey Turner with a walk in this one, and then no problem. Jacob deGrom says, all right, Freddie Freeman. Fun fact, guys, as many of you probably know by now, Freddie Freeman and Jacob deGrom are really close friends. And yesterday, while Freddie was talking with Jake on the field pregame, Freddie has his son Charlie in attendance too. Charlie travels with the Dodgers. It's awesome. The Mets were even kind enough to give his young son Charlie his own locker right next to Freddie's and the opposing clubhouse. That's really cool. Shout out to the Mets for being dubs on that one. But Jake told Charlie, Freddie's son, I'm gonna strike out your dad tomorrow. And that's exactly what he did with 101 heater upstairs. How you doing? And then Will Smith with a strikeout, his first or multiple on the night, folks, ends the inning there. We then get to the bottom of the first. Lindor with an oppo single. Lindor was 3 for 3 at that point, continuing from last night's game. Swing the bat better, especially from the right side of the plate. Mets wouldn't do anything that inning, but it was nice to see them get the first hit of the game. We then get to the second. Jake, I got to be honest, Jake was giving up some deep fly balls. It was a 1-2-3 second for Jake, but they were going deep to right, to center, and left, and that will do it for the inning. We get to the third. Jacob deGrom continues his masterclass with another 1-2-3 inning. This time, striking out Cody Bellinger and striking out Mookie Wilson, who would get him later in this one. But before we get there, the bottom of the third, this is where the Mets start to do their damage, folks, and it was huge because this is exactly what the Dodgers did to the Mets yesterday as the Dodgers scored multiple runs in the third inning. Now was the Mets' turn this time against Tyler Anderson with that stupid little leg pump-up kick, whatever you want to call it. Drives me nuts. He's a good pitcher, though. He's having a career year just like Andrew Heaney because that's what happens when you land with the Dodgers. They just know how to develop talent, even veterans in the game. Justin Turner, we know that story is a great example as well, who broke up deGrom's no-no tonight and then got robbed of the bomb. But Nimmo with an opposite field single, something he did twice tonight. Brandon Nimmo spraying the field, beating the ship. That is peak Brandon Nimmo, getting on base multiple times a game, either with walks or opposite field base knocks. And with that star-studded defense, talk about his defense. I think we're going to rave about it for a while here, folks. But Brandon Nimmo, one thing that is certain is that his defense has only gotten better with age, and that's huge for a guy that, again, is in a contract year, looking to sign a new deal with the Mets, and there's a very strong chance that the Mets are going to bring it back come the offseason. But Nimmo with an oppo single. Then Starling Marte continuing with the home run heroics. He hits an absolute star-studded shooting star to right center for Starling to make it a 2-0 ball game in favor of the New York Mets. Another bomb for Starling Marte on the year now. 293, 821 OPS. Star-studded Starling is him. And then Lindor with a single. Alonso with a base knock on a high fastball. And unfortunately, Darren Ruff with a fly out to right ends it. This was all this offensive production, the third, folks, was with 2 outs. That was massive for a Mets team. Again, the Mets have been known. They've had a large part of their success offensively this year with 2 outs because they never say die. Granted, it's been far more consistent we've seen the second half, especially over the past couple of weeks. But what the Mets have really built on is the thing that they had 0 success on last year, which was 1, hitting with runners in scoring position, and 2, hitting with 2 outs. That's something that the Mets have mightily struggled with last year. This year is not the case. Farthest thing from it, guys. We then get to the fourth, a third consecutive 1-2-3 inning for Jacob deGrom, who's throwing a no-no through 4. He strikes out Will Smith for the second time, and that one the top of the fourth. We get to the bottom of the fourth with 2 outs again. Eduardo Escobar rips himself a double. Eddie's looking more locked in at the plate, which is huge because he's going to be starting basically every day now that Brett Beatty's unfortunately out for injury for a decent period of time. You see Tomas Nido would ground into, not ground into a double play, just ground out to end the inning there in the fourth. Mets are still up 2-0. We get to the fifth, guys. You see Max Muncy with a strikeout. Then you see Justin Turner with the first base knock of the game. I love you, Gary Cohen, but these jinxes are ridiculous. I know you don't care about what the fans on Twitter and stuff have to say, but you need to stop these effing jinxes. We don't need to know the history. I'm sorry, Gary. I love you, but we do not need to know the history of the last time a pitcher had this type of no-no through 5 innings, especially in Mets history. No one cares. No one needs to know that shit. If he throws the no-no, then we'll talk about it then. Do not bring it up mid-game, Gary. We love you. Stop jinxing this. I beg. I literally beg. When Jake gives up 3 hits tonight, and that first hit was right after Garrett said what he said. I love you, Garrett. Just please, no one to shut up. I know that this is part of your job, but part of your job doesn't mean you need to throw out every damn stat imaginable. Just throw out the stats that matter in the time. That wasn't the time, Garrett. I'm sorry. I gotta say, he does this every time. He's just like for my man Sam Rosen with the New York Rangers broadcast. Sam does the same shit when it comes to shutouts, and it drives me absolutely nuts. Just stop. You're legends. But please, I ask you one thing. Stop it with the jinx, okay? Either way, Justin Turner, the former Met, now Bo, gets the first base knock of the game. Then you see Gavin Lux with high speed down the first baseline, reaches on fielder's choice, couldn't get the double play going there. After that, Joey Gallo would fly out to end the inning in the fifth. We get to the bottom of the fifth, folks. Brendan Nimmo with an opposite field single. Starling Marte unfortunately grounds into a double play. Lindor with a pop-up would end the inning. We get to the sixth, guys. Cody Bellinger with another strikeout on the game. And then you see Mookie Betts, who again had 4 home runs his past 4 games or so, entering tonight, gets number 5, rips one. It was a hanging slider, something that Jake, as masterful as Jake has been, the one thing that we have noticed with Jake early on this season is that he tends to hang his sliders after some nice couple innings. And that's something that was apparent in the sixth. That hanging slider right down the pipe went into favor of Mookie Betts, who somehow, some way is even past, yes, Pete Alonso in home runs this year, what I believe that was number 32 on the year for Mookie. Freddie Freeman with a single. He would then steal second base to Jacob deGrom, but a fly out by Will Smith would end the inning. So Jake does give up that solo bomb in the sixth, but you're still feeling good. It's a 1-run ball game, and you have Jacob deGrom on the bump for a minimum of 1 more inning. And that would be the biggest inning of them all for the Mets, from not just Jake ending things on a strong foot, but Brandon Nimmo having his heroics from the defensive side of the ball that you guys see here in the highlights right now. We get to the seventh, guys. Max Muncy with a strikeout. And then you see Brandon Nimmo right here robbing a home run away from Justin Turner. Absolute scenes, as he tweeted on SNY Mets. Shout out to my man Darren, the best Mets man you'll ever meet from the UK. He's not in the chat right now. He was MIA off Twitter today, but that's fine. Wherever you are, Darren, I hope everything's well, and I hope you see this at some point, Darren, because absolute scenes is becoming mainstream here in the Mets scene, right? So you see that huge robbery. The only time that I feel that I'm the same as the best pitcher in baseball, Jacob deGrom, because he has his hands up. I have my hands up. All Mets fans are absolutely mind-blown on what they just witnessed. Brandon just casually went out there and had the save of the year for the Mets, quite literally in center with that amazing catch. And then to end the inning there, you see Gavin Lux strikes out. So not Mad Max. Why am I saying Mad Max? Jacob deGrom to GOAT's final line. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, 93 pitches for Jacob deGrom. He, of course, is my number 1 star. It feels like almost every single time Jake is on the bump, he's your number 1 star automatically. That's what happens when, again, you have the nastiest arsenal, the nastiest mix. You are the nastiest pitcher that baseball has to offer when healthy. No denying that whatsoever. We get to the bottom of the 7th. Another inning where the Mets are trying to get some offense going with 2 outs. Tomas Nido rips himself deep to left going past Gallo for a double. And then you see Nimmo unfortunately strike out looking on a little bit. There were some questionable calls tonight, but regardless, Nimmo strikes out there. I think it was on the changeup, could be wrong, to end the inning. We then get to the 8th. Adam Ottavino comes in the game, folks. Nasty Adam with a strikeout on Joey Gallo. gets belly for a flyout, and strikes out Mookie Betts with a frisbee slider, as I emphasized, so far and away from the plate. Looked absolutely silly. You would not think it was Mookie Betts swinging at that ball because how silly Adam made him look. And again, I have it wrong on the graphic. I do apologize. Ottavino's final line tonight in the 8th inning is 1 aim pitch, no hits, no earned runs, 2 strikeouts, not 1. I messed up the graphic because, again, if I don't mess something up, then clearly something wrong with me because I'm that schmuck that's always doing something wrong. We then get to the 9th. You cue the trumpets once more. Timmy Trumpet, he was in attendance yesterday for the Mets game. Of course, he's notorious for the narco song by Blaster Jackson. We all know. He didn't get to cue the trumpets yesterday. He comes back for round 2 today. Did a phenomenal job for the walkout for Edwin Diaz, which SNY crew does an even better job on really making this look like a movie scene as he comes out. They're in the dugout. Even throughout the game, I mean, they were shrinking the screen a little bit to have the black bars on the top and bottom for Jake's strikeouts. Having the overlay, it looked like a movie. SNY has been doing a phenomenal job with their production this year. Cannot say enough good things on what they have been doing in the film room. No less, you see Diaz come in, strikes out, that being Trey Turner silly with the slider. Freddie Freeman with a ground out, and Will Smith with a ground out. A nice play by Eddie Escobar ends the game. Mets win 2-1, folks, and I'm absolutely juiced up. The Braves won. It doesn't matter. What matters is that the Mets took a game against the LA Dodgers and have potential to still win this series tomorrow with a strong Seabass facing off against, yes, the legend that is Clayton Kershaw. It's going to be a duel tomorrow. If I'm going to go on a limb, I'm going to say that tomorrow's probably low scoring too. We'll see what happens, however. But guys, I got to know more than anything. Who is your number 1 star from tonight's game? Is it Jacob deGrom or is it potentially Brandon Nimmo? Because for me, as you guys see here, I went with Jacob deGrom as a 1 star. It's hard for me not to pick him. My number 2 star is Brandon Nimmo. When you go 2 for 4 with the run scored and robbing the home run away from Justin Turner, the catch of the year, you absolutely are either my number 1 or your number 2. You can flip-flop the 2 just because how good they were. Then you got Marte, my number 3 star, 1 for 4 with that solo bomb there. And the third, the RBI and the run scored. And it was 2 RBIs. See, I messed up 2 stats tonight. It was 2 RBIs, not 1. I'm a schmuck. I told, if this shirt is not fitting for how I acted with this damn graphic tonight, again, I was trying to make sure I was getting ready to go and having it as set up as fast as possible. I don't know why I thought that Marte hit a solo bomb because he didn't. It was a 2-run shot. He has 2 RBIs. I'm an ass. I apologize for that one. He's my number 3 star, no less. Number 4, Adam Ottavino with the 2 strikeouts, even though it says 1. And number 5, you could easily give it to Edwin, but I already have the graphics saved. I was ready to go live right after the game. So Edwin or Lindor would suffice. Lindor with 2 base knocks on the day. You could even argue one of Escobar or Nito because they both went 1 for 3, but both had doubles tonight too. Some nice extra base hits from the Mets from the bottom of the order. That's important. That's something that the Mets will need more from this team to lengthen the depth of this lineup, especially when you're not getting consistent production from guys like Alonso or whoever is in that DH position, right? So a lot of things to be happy about, guys. I'm so juiced up. This was a huge Mets win for them. And stay tuned because in the next 10 to 15 minutes or so, we are going to bring in my buddy Joe Sorallo, who's my co-host with the Bleav in Queens podcast, himself, and of course, Anthony Recker, former New York Met, now MLB Network and Apple TV Plus analyst. Make sure to check out Rec this Friday if you guys are going to be watching the game on Apple Plus for whatever games I'll be covering that day. But now let's get into some unfortunate negative news just for a minute. Brett Baty, who we thought was okay, he was able to pinch run and do all these things in field. However, the Mets weren't certain if he could grip the bat comfortably. Would he be able to play uncomfortably? Gets further imaging, and it shows that he has a UCL tear, unfortunately, in his right thumb. He's going to have surgery tomorrow, but this process to heal back and get that grip right on the bat takes around 5 weeks. So Brett Baty, we love the kid. I cannot wait to see him return. He is unfortunately now out for 5 weeks, which is a remainder of the regular season, with hopes that he does return by time playoffs come around for the Mets. And yes, Terrence Gore, who's been on 3 World Series teams in his career, with the Kansas City Royals that we don't talk about against the Mets, with the LA Dodgers in the short 2020 season, and with the Atlanta Braves last year, is now on the Mets roster, even though he might get sent back down tomorrow. Rosters are expanding tomorrow, 26 to 28. We'll see who the Mets bring up. I know everyone and their mother wants Mark Vientos, and as do I, but Vientos is not getting called up. He is not. Vientos has such little defensive upside. The Mets are more than likely going to bring up a guy like Devin Marrero to be that stopgap for Luis Gourmet, because Luis Gourmet will be returning to the Mets sooner rather than later. He's starting his rehab assignment this Sunday. And Tyler McGill, we love Tyler McGill. We love Julie, great mother on the channel as a member, great friend of mine. Tyler will begin his rehab assignment with Double-A Bennington. We'll get around 5 different times I'll get a pitch and a bullpen role, just eating a couple innings starting tomorrow. So Tyler's not far away. Drew Smith will be starting rehab sooner than later. And yes, Luis Gourmet will be starting his rehab assignment as soon as this Sunday. So it really sucks regarding Brett Beatty. Do not get me wrong. No one wants to see the kid hurt. I was excited to see him in this series whenever he would be playing. But now that Beatty's out, we love Mark Vientos. But unfortunately, the likelihood of Vientos coming up to the Mets tomorrow is slim at this juncture. Now, it does not announce the potential of Mark Vientos being called up before the year ends. However, as things stand currently, I'll be as shocked as everyone else, rather, if Mark Vientos is on the Mets roster, actually in the lineup or off the bench tomorrow. More than likely, it's not going to happen. Devin Marrero, a guy like that, or the other guy, I forget his name, starts with G. I can't even say his last name. You know who I'm talking about. The Mets picked him up off of waivers from the Blue Jays earlier this year, like early summer, whenever it was. One of those guys is probably going to be a stopgap in the meantime. And then I would imagine the next couple weeks, once Gourmet returns, then you'll have Gourmet back splitting time with Escobar at third, or seeing Gourmet at second and shifting McNeil to left. So, again, I love him. I love Vientos. I want to see him up. But because of the fact that he truly does not have enough defensive versatility or really defensive upside for the liking of Buck and management right now, that is what's going to really be the biggest hindrance. And again, as much as Mark Vientos may have a better impact off the bench DH-wise than, say, Darren Ruff, the Mets are not going to do that at this juncture. The Mets have been seeing very few lefty stars as is up until this series. That's why Darren Ruff has gotten such little playing time. I just don't see a world right now, unfortunately, where Mark Vientos will be called up, guys. But that's all you need to know. One more update. I'm not sure if he accepted the offer. Let me know in the chat, guys, if you know or not. But what I do know is that Michael Conforto, who needs to sign a deal by the end of the day to be active and available for playoffs, should he sign with a team that will make the postseason this year, Michael Conforto was offered a 2-year, $30 million deal today by the Houston Astros. And I don't know if he accepted that deal or not, but if anyone wants to confirm, I don't know if there's been further reporting. Again, I've been focused on the Mets game. I saw that deal was offered to him prior to the Mets game today. And why wouldn't Conforto take that deal? I agree. I think it would make sense for him. Again, if you're going to Houston, how do you not do something like that? So I don't know what Conforto is going to do. Again, if he does not sign a deal by the night's end, Michael Conforto cannot play for a team come postseason. So for anyone that's interested on the Conforto front, what have his updates been? I'm someone that was not under the belief that he'd even play a game this regular season, but it looks like that may come to a change should he sign this 2-year, $30 million deal with the Astros before the night's end. So that is your Michael Conforto update. Those are your Mets health updates overall, as the Mets again leg out a tight one, another tight nail-biting win. Big win, though. You got the trumpets going. You got everything going right in this victory. And before I get your donations and start to answer comments, before we get Joe in the show here in a little bit, let me go over the entire lineup for the Mets tonight outside of the Warriors top 5 of the guys you see. Again, Marte with 2 RBIs and Adam Ottavino with 2 strikeouts. I'm just a schmuck, and I always mess up numbers. So there's a reason why I'm not a mathematician, and I'm a content creator. You see Francisco Lindor, discussed him. Alonso went 1 for 4. Alonso had a better eye at the plate today. It wasn't pretty, but again, it was reassuring to actually see him know how to constantly hit a high fastball, or at least swing at the proper one that was still in the zone. Because yesterday, he was swinging and missing at all these high fastballs by Andreini, and it felt like almost all of them were just out of the zone. It wasn't even like they were in the zone. So a little bit better eye from Alonso, but for a guy that, again, Pete is in the heart of this Mets live, him and Ruff having no production tonight for the most part. We need more from these guys, and hopefully they can step up tomorrow in the series finale against the Dodgers. Again, this is the third team to the last team the Mets play this year that has an above 500 record. After this is the Milwaukee Brewers in September, and then the second to last series of the year is against the Atlanta Braves for one more time. And that could be a pivotal matchup by the time we get there with the way both these teams are playing right now and have all year long. Ruff went 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Mark Canha 0 for 3, but without Canha, this Mets team will not be where they are right now over the past month, really. So shout out to Mark Canha. Not upset that he went 0 for 3. McNeil looked a little frustrated today, pressing a little bit 0 for 3. Couldn't read Tyler Anderson well. He struggled against Anderson in the past. Again, Anderson has this very deceptive little leg pump that he does with every throw, and that really has thrown off hitters, especially this year with the Dodgers being able to tweak his game a little bit and make his arsenal the best it's been in its career. Tyler Anderson went 7 strong tonight, only giving up 2 earned runs, 8 hits, 3 strikeouts on 93 pitches. This season ERA is down to 2.68, but Jacob deGrom's season ERA is now at 1.98. Through how many starts? I don't know how many starts Jake has had thus far. Adam Ottavino with a 2.05 ERA, Edwin Diaz with a 1.38, and then we discuss Eduardo Escobar and Nito both with a double apiece, both going 1 for 3 respectively. But guys, let me ask you to everybody here in the chat right now. Do you think after a win like this, a tight win against an LA Dodgers club, do you think that this is the exact type of momentum that this team needed? Let me know in the chat right now if you think that this win is really going to help them now try to get on a run, or if you think that this is, while it was a big win, the Mets are going to kind of stay a little up and down for a bit. Let me know what your thoughts are, because I am genuinely curious. But now let's get to some donations here in the live chat before we go further here in the show, guys. But before I do, I want to know everyone's thoughts and comments. Make sure you continue smashing that like and subscribe on. We're trying to get 300 likes by the end of the show, or at any time the show is up if you're watching live or on replay. People on replay, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What is your biggest takeaway from this crazy 2-1 win? Jacob deGrom with a pure masterclass, and Brandon Nimmo doing Brandon Nimmo things in center field with potentially the catch of the year. Let me know your thoughts for the people on replay in the comments below. Smash those buttons. People in the live chat, let's get those donations now. But for people on replay, this is where we're cutting things off.